Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Who is it?
We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie. Second best. You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these three.
Oh!
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only three people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquia, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle. Could you be quiet? What is this?
It's my new teeth.
It's your new teeth. I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. The top story from the GB newsroom. 11 hostages, including 8 children and 3 adults, have been released from Gaza this evening, and they've now arrived back in Israel. They're having medical checkups before being reunited with their families. Qatar's foreign ministry confirmed their identities, and photographs were released of the 3 French, 2 German and 6 Argentinians, including an image of 3-year-old twin sisters with their mum. Israel says 50 women and children are to be freed over 4 days. Hamas says it's received a list of 33 Palestinians to be released from Israeli jails in return. It said these included 3 female prisoners and 30 teenagers. A video posted online shows a bus arriving at an Israeli military prison. And that comes as the humanitarian truce between Israel and Hamas has been extended for 2 more days. Well, in news here at home, the Home Secretary has said the business model of people smuggling gangs will be destroyed as he underlined the government's commitment to stopping illegal migration. James cleverly made the comments as he faced questions in the House of Commons for his first time as Home Secretary. Mr Cleverly said the government is doing all it can to stop small boat crossings.
People who are being smuggled are seen as just products. They are expendable in the eyes of those people smugglers. We have to do everything we can, and we will do, to break their business model. I commend the work of my right honourable friend, the Immigration Minister, who has recently been to Bulgaria, where in close cooperation with our international partners in Bulgaria, we have seized boats, we have seized engines, we are breaking the business model.
James cleverly speaking there. Now, nearly £30 billion is going to be invested into new business projects in the UK. The Prime Minister has told a global summit today that there's positive momentum in the UK economy, particularly in the science, tech and creative sectors. Rishi Sunak says the UK's low tax approach and culture of innovation give it the competitive advantage. The UK's first case of a new strain of swine flu has been detected in North Yorkshire. The Health Security Agency says the person who contracted it has got the H1N2 strain that's similar to a virus found in pigs. They have, though, fully recovered after experiencing a mild illness. But there is increased surveillance in surgeries and hospitals in northern England now as the authorities work to establish the source of the infection. An agreement was struck today between the government and England's top doctors. It could mean an end to strike action. The government's agreed to increase the total pay award for consultants by 4.5%. Union members will now vote on the proposal, which, if passed, will see strikes completely called off. Drivers are being warned to drive carefully and avoid puddles after a record number of so-called pothole breakdowns were reported to the AA. The motoring organisation says it received more than 52,000 call-outs last month for vehicles getting stuck after driving over damaged tarmac. That's the highest number of call-outs for any October that they have on record. Earlier this month, the Prime Minister pledged to deal with the scourge of potholes on roads, but the cost of repairing them is thought to be at around £14 billion. His Majesty the King has been meeting with business and finance leaders from across the world tonight at Buckingham Palace to mark the UK's Global Investment Summit. King Charles was introduced by the Prime Minister to attendees from the summit. The reception comes ahead of the King's attendance at the opening ceremony of the World Climate Action Summit at COP28 in Dubai on Friday. That's the news. This is GB News across the UK on TV, in your car, on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying play GB News. This is Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at Tuesday's newspapers. I am Simon Evans. Joining me tonight we have the politically astute dog whistles, Leo Kearse, and socially challenged catcaller, Lewis Schaefer. So, gentlemen, are you both well?
Yeah.
Excellent. You're a star in your own right now, of course, Leo. We're lucky to still have you here.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm quite at Mariah Carey's level. I've got a 1 hour show.
The Christmas warbler. Did you ever dance around the Christmas tree?
Yeah, I don't look quite as good as Mariah Carey when I do it.
That's good. Well, Lewis next, obviously.
I'm happy because I hear that Leo's show has been cancelled.
That's exactly what we were hoping for, I would imagine. Anyway, let's have a look at Tuesday's front pages. The Times kick us off. Hamas demands higher price to set soldiers free. The Telegraph. Britain faces UN blacklist for blocking trans laws. The Express. Time for bank chief who talks Britain up. The iNews. Interest rates will stay high into 2025, say economists. The Sun. Gone to VAR, VAR on the football. And the Daily Star. Close encounters of the weird kind. Those are the front pages. So we'll go with The Guardian first, Leo.
So their headline is, deal to extend truce raises hopes of dozens more hostages released. So this is the hostages held by Hamas that were taken on October the 7th when they invaded Israel. But there's been a deal to have a 4-day ceasefire. And it looks like, and there's only 12 hours left of that before hostilities in Gaza were due to recommence. But Qatar and Egypt are negotiating an extra 48 hours. But they've got to sort of buy extra time using the hostages that they've got. And it's kind of difficult because Hamas don't know where all the hostages are, apparently, which is ridiculous.
Wow.
Apparently, at least 40 women and children being detained in Gaza are not being held by Hamas. And I'm not sure that they know...
What, they're being held by an alternative terrorist outfit?
I mean, I guess there's also what are they called, Islamic Jihad?
A faction, yes, that's true. And the picture they've gone with there is not of hostages, is it? That's of Palestinian family who are trying to flee North Gaza. But it's a very complicated situation all round.
Yeah, I mean, the situation for Gazans is getting terrible. A lot of them are in tents. There's not, you know, as much. I don't know if there's enough aid getting into Gaza. And obviously, as the weather turns, you know, even though it's the Middle East, it's still cold in the winter. So they've had a lot of rain. So the situation there is really miserable for them.
It's such an unrelenting torrent of misery that when you see photographs of hostages, it almost seems... I hate to say it, but it doesn't sort of scratch the surface of the amount of death and carnage there's already been, does it? Do you know what I mean? You see one person getting out the back of a Land Rover or something, you think, well, this just doesn't sort of... it doesn't tip the balance.
No, I disagree. I mean, I saw on the front cover of the Telegraph there a baby, really cute baby, who'd been taken. It's just, you know, imagine that baby in the hands of these horrific terrorists who absolutely hate, you know, on a real primeval level, have absolute hatred for that baby just because of, you know, where it was born and who it was born to.
Absolutely, I agree with you there. Well, there's the Daily Telegraph, Lewis. That's your paper. That's the picture of the baby that Leo's talking about, I imagine.
Yeah, the Daily Telegraph. Yeah, what a cute little baby. It looks like Leo's baby. This is and Leo, who's got a cold heart. He actually emoted when he saw the picture of the thing.
Did he?
Oh, it was like, it was lovely.
Yeah.
It was lovely. It's still not going to make...
pupils dilated.
It's still not going to make my girlfriend like him, but and I don't like him either. And so that's what's going on. And this is what it's all... It's basically because of this, because Hamas has 250 people, including babies like this, that they went and captured. And you know, you're sitting there being balanced, and we're trying to be balanced, and maybe I should be balanced. I'm not, you know, I'm not a political guy. I don't need to be balanced. But, you know, this is what it's all caused by. But that's not what the issue...
What have you got on the blacklist for blocking trans laws as well?
Well, obviously, this is much more important for GB News people, because we are all trans all the time. And this is BBC faces UN blacklist for blocking trans laws. And this was, believe it or not, there's this organization called GANHRI, G-A-N-H-R-I. I never heard of this thing, and I don't even think you guys probably have heard of it.
No.
It's the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Organizations.
Right.
And they're the feeder into the United Nations for Britain to be in the panels with the United Nations.
Okay.
And it happens that because Stonewall and Mermaids, two totally, I'm not going to use the word.
We know them. Yeah.
We know them, evil. They complained. And so it's possible that we will not be allowed to sit at the UN, to be in the UN.
But
now,
just for the human rights body. But, I mean, honestly, who cares? Does this mean we don't need to pay them any money? The UN is, like, completely drifted away from its original purpose and now seems to just exist to push woke ideology. The fact that they're listening to Stonewall and Mermaids, which are two very discredited organisations, is ridiculous.
But it's bizarre, isn't it? The UN is established to impose some sort of international law, to bring resolutions to avoid war and that sort of thing. Why could they possibly have any interest in trans rights?
Because
understand.
Here's why. Because trans rights is about self-identity, and what Team World wants to do is obliterate national boundaries. It comes from out of Wilsonian kind of thinking, is we're not going to have any countries anymore. Imagine there's no country. Imagine that's what they want.
Everybody just has their own sort of self-identity and their own...
And they're happy. And if you take away their country, people are saying, you know what, you're not going to have a country, but you'll have yourself. You'll have your self-identity.
That sounds like a terrible idea. This sounds
Everyone
like
has their own little border.
Yeah,
around themselves.
I may not have a border. I may just be open.
And which is why they're after Israel, because it's a nation state. Why they want to destroy Britain, because it's a nation, and it's Team World versus, I think, GBNews stands for
I like the
home
sound
team.
of Baroness Faulkner of Migraine, though. She's the...
That's not the place. It's what is it?
Margarine. Something like that. Anyway, next up we have the I, Leo. Interest rates. Goodness,
yes.
This is not good news.
Some bad news for people with mortgages. So interest rates will stay high into 2025, say economists. Although it's economists saying that, so they're probably going to come down next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, interest rates could stay high for a couple of years after the Bank of England governor issued a start warning saying there's not going to be any cuts for the foreseeable future. Inflation is still, although it's come down from, it's in double digits, it's still at 4.6%. The target is 2%. We're still above America and above Europe. And also mortgage rates, they're quick to go up. But I think, because the banks make money off them, they're going to be slow to come down. The banks
they're like oil prices, aren't they? But I do think obviously, these things are all slightly interconnected, but they've misunderstood the nature of the inflation. It is not because we've all got too much money, and it certainly isn't because we were borrowing too much money to go out and buy consumer durables. Well, it's supply lines, isn't it? It's shortages, it's the knock-on effect from all the dysfunctionality of the pandemic, 2 years of people not getting back to work. There's a lot of complicated issues. I mean, there has been inflation by the QE at the top, and the asset prices have been going up. But the idea that, food prices are going up in the supermarket because people just had too much money to chuck at eggs. That was just not true. That's not why we would have this problem. So I think interest rates are a blunt instrument for dealing with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but no.
No, you're happy with
interest
it.
rates are still the tool that the central banks can use to
they're the main one, that's
rein
true.
it in. But
and they want 2%. They want to keep it, the target to 2%. Why should there be 2% inflation? It's just to basically steal the people's money.
It's just it's porridge on simmering, isn't it? It's like an all day vat of porridge. That's where you don't want it bubbling, but you don't want it going cold. You just want a little bit of oxygen coming up through it.
You want to keep people thinking, I can't keep my money in the bank. I've got to spend the money.
2 minutes on the Daily Mirror. In fact, 1 minute on the Daily Mirror.
Britain's got to pay Williams, David Williams, and they had an open mic. They had an open mic like during the recording. We have the mics today, and I've said some absolutely lovely things about Leo. And people are going to say, wait a second, you were bad-mouthing him just a second ago, but now, and it would kill my career if they were. Please, the people in the booth, don't reveal.
But Williams did it the other way round.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He revealed himself to be quite a nasty piece of work, really, didn't he? I think most people felt that way, but now they're going to have to pay him, are they?
I think they're giving him the boot before, because I know the Guardian is doing an investigation into his basically his sex life. I don't know if they've dug anything up, but they've been sniffing around and speaking to lots of people.
So many rumours for so many years.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see it all brought out into the sunlight.
Oh, destroy his reputation. Is that what you're doing?
Pale worms.
This is all alleged. We don't know if they're doing the thing. That's what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to say it's alleged.
We didn't allege anything, though.
It's a leg. That's the front pages. But stay with us. In the second section, we have Michael Gove giving it to us straight. We have the NHS doing anything but. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie.
Second best.
You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with you three.
Oh! No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affects us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquia, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle.
Could you be quiet? What is this?
It's my new teeth.
It's your new teeth.
I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
And welcome back to Headliners with me, Simon Evans, Leo Kurse and Lewis Schaefer. Let's continue with the stories, Leo. We have Tricky Rishi now to kick us off. Sounds like The Guardian have got the goods on the double-crossing good-for-nothing little poppet.
So, Sunak agreed with Braverman to £40,000 income threshold for UK migrants. So the Daily Telegraph says it's been shown a copy of the deal, which pledged, there's a bunch of measures, pledged to increase the minimum salary for a skilled worker arriving in the UK from 26 grand to 40 grand. And this is all to bring down immigration, or at least you know, put some sort of sensible limit on it, as well as
to raise the quality of it,
and to raise the quality of it, which hasn't always been tip top. I got into England, but they're also ending extended visas for graduates and further limiting family members that people can bring, because you get a place in a university and then bring your entire family. Which
I think you don't even need to get in university. I read today, and I didn't like fact check it all the way back to the source, but there are a lot of people coming in on carer visas now, right, to work in social care, which is people we need. They bring on average with them 1.8 dependents.
Right, yeah.
So you get a job worth 24 grand in a care home, and you've got a family with you, who are, I mean, that's quite a significant...
And then they can bring people in as well,
and it starts to expand, and this is the concern, right?
Well, that is the concern, and that's what they're saying. They're saying if we don't have this level of mass immigration, it's not going to be good for care homes. It's not going to be good for the NHS. It's the exact same lies they told us about COVID. Is that unless you support mass immigration, you're killing Granny.
Yeah, it's the truth.
That's what it is, and I should leave it at that. Yeah. But the point is that there's an underlying thing, is that they want the people to come in because of dropping birth rates. And there's not enough people to make the rich their money.
They want to fuel GDP, but this could really tear the Tory party apart, because this is, Braverman's threatening to release evidence of the sort of deal that was done between them, and obviously, I don't think anybody expected immigration to hit like gross of 1.2 million in a year under the Conservatives, right when it was such a dicey issue, and right when Rishi was pledging to keep it under control.
And it was obviously what Brexit, the subtext of Brexit, had largely been about, trying to get that under control, and in fact it's metastasised beyond it. And also, I think it really lands this idea that Sunak is a double-crossing, no good, like he's a bad faith negotiator.
I don't think you understand how bad it is. It's not that Sunak is bad. The whole half of the Conservative Party is rotten.
Because they found Suella Braverman was a kind of she didn't kind of present well. She she was easy to land punches on, but now she is got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Sorry
Lewis,
for interrupting you.
That's all right. Independent now, we can at least rely on Michael Gove to give us the unvarnished, barely lubricated truth about housing.
Yeah, well, this is the same kind of story, and Michael Gove is the same kind of guy. They're all the same kind of guys, these people. And I think the people are fed up. It's that Michael Gove, who's the levelling up secretary, admits the housing crisis is even worse than you think. Of course it's going to be worse than you think, because on one hand, a million, two coming into the country, number one. Number two, people are not forming families. There's a huge rise in divorce, so there's an incredible need for housing. And number three, they're not building any housing. So if they're building housing, it's basically destroying our green and pleasant land.
Well, it also destroys, it's virtually the only source of middle-class reassurance, isn't it? House prices. That people, the property-owning democracy, the idea is that you think, well, everything else has turned to mush, let's say, to people like, but my house is still worth a lot of money. That is the one thing on which a lot of people lean back.
And they can't get on they can't get on the property ladder.
No, of course.
So
new people can't get on the property ladder.
They can't get on the property ladder.
Unless they work really hard, both people work, and then they can't have kids because they're both working.
Literally get a ladder. Maybe a literal property ladder and just break into somebody else's bedroom window.
And Keir Starmer he looks like he's going to get in next year, and he's promised to build millions more houses, but he's promised to build basically on the green belt. So we're going to see Britain radically transformed. I don't think it's going to be for the better.
I don't think it'll look nicer, but I bet somehow it will fall apart. It's one of these lobby groups. It's one of these kind of things. They all speak it. It's exactly like immigration. They all talk it up. Tonight's chief provocation to common sense now, Leo, and the Telegraph are suffering from verbal aphasia.
So, does the patient have a penis or a vagina? This is the nonsense new transgender form the NHS makes doctors fill out.
Not just Doctor Who.
No, this is well, they probably love it on Doctor Who. This is a £450 million IT system that's been set up, and it asks the forms and it asks staff to fill in organs the patient currently has, organs present at birth, organs surgically enhanced or constructed, and organs hormonally enhanced. And under each of the sections, there's a list of possible organs to add, including a penis, vagina, uterus, cervix, breast, prostate, testes, and ovaries. And then you have to click add on each relevant organ. I mean, it's lucky the NHS has got so much spare capacity, so the doctors can spend all day filling in this form. It's nonsense.
It's more like, I don't know if you ever encountered Build-A-Bear. It was a sort of a bit like a Disney outlet kind of thing in shopping malls where young girls could go and select the bow tie and the nose and the hat. They'd make their own
hugely powerful now as well, the Build-A-Bear group.
Are they? Oh, yes, very good. No, that always used to sound that to me as well when I thought it was 7, But it was just an annoying way to spend 50 quid on a teddy bear, basically, because it was bespoke, But that's kind of how they're treating humans now, right?
Well,
I'd
like to say that this is an American system, and I'm proud of it.
But, I sometimes laugh at your kind of like dystopian vision of the future, but this is as close to that kind of, transhumanism kind of mentality, right?
Well, this is what trans world has. You could say it's a minor part of trans world, but Team World, but it is taken over.
They can maybe have a little box at the bottom of the form where you make any notes about, this person has had, I would allow that.
Yeah, just have, is it a bloke?
Yeah.
Is it a lassie?
Any comments at the bottom?
Yeah.
Anyway, Lewis, Telegraph now. Christmas is still 4 weeks away, but the new swine flu is already in the shops.
Yeah, swine flu. I don't eat pig very much because I am on a I don't like their lipid balance in the pig. Anyway, first UK cases of a new pig flu found in humans, and this is just another one of those panic in the UK stories because COVID's gone. No one believes COVID anymore, and so they want to whip people into a frenzy. It won't work. I think people have been fooled enough. Even most people who are suckers for this.
What about Neil Ferguson? Is he been quoted on any of this yet?
You know what? I didn't see his name, thank God. I don't think his name was on this. That guy represents everything that's wrong with this country.
I hope he's been run out of town.
But I'm going to tell you something.
So.
There's one thing we should. It is this. I don't think it's a thing. Okay, pig flu.
No.
If you take all necessary precautions when you make love to a pig.
Pig flu has a bit kind of an echo of flying pigs as well, isn't there?
Yes,
the pig flu.
I hadn't even thought about that.
But the swine flu, that was one about 10 years ago. I remember that. And I remember my wife laid up loads of masks and gloves, just as she does every time around.
Yeah.
So finally, we got to use them in 2020.
Yeah, but a lot of people got hired over COVID. The World Health Organization got new power and expanded a lot. And now they want to keep hold of that funding and they want to keep hold of those staff and that power.
Say the word, team world.
Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time allotted for its completion. That first came to light when Cyril Northcote Parkinson investigated why the Admiralty, which was a department of the civil service, was continuing to grow after World War II, despite the fact that it had virtually no ships left or anything to do. But the Admiralty itself, just bigger and bigger offices. Daily Mail now, Leo. New Zealand have pulled a fast one on Snitchy Rishi, leaving him looking like a right plum while everyone else is having a quick puff around the back of the bike shed.
So there's anger over New Zealand's U-turn on smoking ban. Health experts say they're appalled by a purely political move as Rishi Sunak vows to press ahead with law to stop kids aged 14 now from ever buying cigarettes. So basically, under Jacinda Ardern, she banned smoking. I mean, she would have banned everything if she could. She was absolutely, the team world, as you'd say. But yeah, she banned smoking. But then she got voted out because everybody hates these people after about 5 years because they're horrible, monotonous killjoys. And then the new Prime Minister said he's going to U-turn so people will still be able to buy cigarettes and he's going to use the money to fund tax cuts, which sounds great. I mean, I don't mind smokers killing themselves if I get some money.
Well, I personally think smoking is kind of... I mean, we all do a bit of material about it here and there, and the vaping devices are pretty undignified, but I do think tobacco and nicotine could be separated. I think it is conceivable that nicotine actually does have some benefits for the human race, whereas tobacco smoke, really, it would be good if it was phased out. But you've got to give people the choice. I really think you have got to give them the choice.
Well,
otherwise, the mental health effects of having your choices limited ever tighter and tighter.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I mean, as a sort of a fake libertarian that I am, because I've taken a test and I'm not quite as libertarian as I thought I was, a cigarette is a small thing, and what they're going to do is they're going to be able to look into people's homes in their cars. Oh, you have a pack of cigarette, you're breaking the law. Oscar Wilde said this. He said, habits become vices when the rich grow tired of them.
Very nice, He's almost a Marxist, wasn't he, Oscar Wilde, actually? He was...
Is that true?
Yeah, he wrote a thing called The Life of Man Under Socialism, and I expected it to be a kind of satire, but no, it was like a massive fanboy of it.
Right. Oh, so I take it back. I'm not going to quote him again.
Morality is only ever the subtly enforced best interest of the ruling class at any given moment. That's his kind of idea there.
Yeah, sort of like
At the halfway point now, don't go away in a couple of minutes. We'll be back with right-wing evangelicals, environmental evangelicals, dietary evangelicals, and the best lack all conviction. That's us. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Acquia, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle.
Could you be quiet? What is this? It's on your teeth. It's on your teeth.
I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie.
Second best.
You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these three.
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. Guardian now. Lewis, and a mere 20 years after Jerry Springer the opera, further evidence that the real religious nut jobs to beware of in our society are the right-wing ones.
You know what? I'm not so sure about this. Let us study this, because I had not heard about that before you put your spin on it. Is medics quitting over jobs, medics, that's doctors and nurses, over, quote, distress caused by right-wing Christian group. So this Christian Legal Center that the Guardian is blaming has been suing hospitals on behalf of the families of patients to not have the plug pulled on these children who are dying. So basically, this group is saying, keep my children alive. And the doctors and the nurses just want to pull the plug and kill them, you know, because it doesn't fit into their time schedule.
Alfie Evans and Archie Baster's been mentioned here. They were famous cases, weren't they?
Yeah.
Both of those.
But they're not killing them because they don't fit into the time schedule. They're also killing them because it would be expensive.
Expensive is the same thing, you know?
Well, I suppose, for balance then, I will say I can understand if they believe the child is in constant and irresolvable pain and is not viable long term. I don't know. I mean, it's been for a long time. The idea has been that human life is a non-negotiable, right? You sustain it as long as possible.
Well, that is totally not true. No. That's why we've got
No, that's what we have in our heads. Yes. But they don't do that
It's not negotiable because it costs money to kill. Now I'll take the other side of what I just said. is that it costs money to keep these kids alive, and if people think the kids are going to die, the money might be better spent somewhere else.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I suppose also what they would say is, I think perhaps, I mean, the story is that the medics are experiencing, I suppose, a degree of they're getting bruised by this kind of constantly being harangued by these Christians who absolutely, you know, will not give an inch. But the idea is that they are preventing them from explaining it to the parents in such a way that they manage to accommodate the idea that their child is going to die.
Yeah, and I can totally understand that, you know, the medics can be right. Yeah. But we still need to have this opportunity to push back against the state. Yes. The NHS is like, for most people, it's their only health service. They can't afford, you know, Bupa or whatever it is.
So let alone to fly to Canada.
So this idea that you can't question the state when it's you know, removing the life of your child is a nonsense.
And I think the idea that it's a Christian pressure group maybe isn't the worst thing, you know, conceivably, because you're not going to get a group of professional clinicians to do that, are you?
Yeah, and if it was a Muslim pressure group, the Guardian would be right behind them.
Well, this is, of course, what I was getting at with the Jerry Springer thing, you know, that there is so much pressure coming from Muslim groups of one kind or another these days, whether it be teaching LGBT stuff at school or, you know, or drawing pictures of the Prophet, You know, but as soon as a Christian group appear, they are right-wing, you know, and they're extremists, and they're like, oh, they're terrible, you know. Well, maybe they are terrible. Probably they're a bit gauche, I suspect.
Guardian is the newspaper of Team World.
Extinction Rebellion now, Leo. They're back. They have attacked the last handful of high street bank branches, not yet to be converted into soulless drinking establishments.
Although you can take a bottle of Buckfast into my local Santander. Extinction Rebellion's activists glue shut doors of 50 Barclays, including in Glasgow, Leeds and London, as they accuse the bank of mega-funding fossil fuel projects. I mean, obviously their trust funds are held at a much posher bank, probably in Switzerland.
Yes.
So they don't need to worry about that. But they accuse Barclays of investing $190 billion in fossil fuels since 2015. Good. Hope they're making a lot of profit on that. But this is horrible. It's punishing the old and the disabled who need to go into a bank branch. Most people can do it online. Some people need to go in and speak to somebody because they can't work phones or whatever. And also, Just Stop Oil are funded by a multi-millionaire, Dale Vince, who's an energy baron. He's just pushing his own business angle. He makes green energy. He makes energy from wind. So, you know, he wants the government to buy that energy instead of buying, instead of using fossil fuels.
I certainly agree with you on the, the high street thing and just getting in the way of ordinary people. It reminds me, do you remember Chris Morris, the Brass Eye and so on, the satirist, and he had a sort of wannabe imitator, Mark Thomas, who was a good stand-up comic and then started making political stuff. Mark Thomas would always kind of get as far as the receptionist. Do you know what I mean? In like Shell HQ or whatever. And Chris Morris, famous, dismissed him as one of the scourge of receptionists everywhere. You know, Morris would actually get the CEO on the show.
That's an interesting point because Extinction Rebellion, we hadn't heard from them in a couple of months or a year or something, and I think they are a bit envious of Just Stop Oil, and that's why they're running this thing. You know, I mean, the fact is that I think we need oil. We need to be warm.
Yeah, it's true. People still underestimate just how useful it is, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Telegraph now, Lewis, and an inverted pyramid, but sadly not of piffle.
Yes, I don't know what a piffle is.
Piffle, an inverted pyramid of piffle was what Boris Johnson described one of the scandals he was accused of being. Piffle is nonsense, basically, and an inverted pyramid.
Does it mean there's a lot of nonsense on the bottom?
On a tiny little,
and then a tiny,
it turned out to be true, of course. I think it was that he had got
No, it should
got
be the other way around. It should be the other way around.
An inverted pyramid of piffle. It's unstable.
Ah, well, there you go. Yeah. We're learning something every day. That's why you tune into this. And,
but this is the pyramid of the population pyramid.
The population period, which I've been actually following quite a lot in real life.
Yeah.
How retiring baby boomers risk plunging Britain into crisis. And the truth is there are a lot more people who are old, and there are fewer people that are young. Yeah. So you could go a lot of different ways on who you're going to blame. You could blame the old people for being too many, or you could blame the young people for not having enough kids because they believed in this feminist ideology that Team World is promoting. Yeah. It's the death of love.
This is why we need Islam, quickly, so that we'll have lots of wives.
Well, you saw the picture on the front page of the guy. He's got 1 million kids. Yeah. How many kids are these people
I'll tell you what, though, there is... I mean, I know these terms are very, they're loose kind of collections of individuals. Baby boomers last for what? I was born in 65. I'm right on the cusp. But baby boomers...
Sounds very painful.
What, being on the cusp, yeah. But the boomers have been retiring for at least 10 years now, right? I mean, if you were born in 45, born in 50, you've been retired for... now, right? Born in 1950, is that right?
You'll be retired for 7 years.
50, 65... No, you've been retired since 2015. Yeah, I knew that was right. Yeah. So they've been retired. That was the peak baby boomers. We're in the middle of it, is what I'm saying. This isn't like some wave. Yeah.
But we need
this has been happening for some time.
Like our fertility rate, people need to be having on average at least 2.1 children, and we're way below that. It's like 1.5 or something.
1.6, yes, terrible.
1.6, which is shocking, and that's, so we're trying to replace that with immigration, but I mean, long term, that's going to turn us into Yugoslavia or Lebanon.
Fur babies, people have those now.
Yeah, people get cats or whatever instead. There's this narrative, like Lewis says in the media, don't have kids, that's lame, that's rubbish, be single, have lots of horrible casual sex and take antidepressants and be an alcoholic, and it's like, no, have babies. I didn't know till I had a baby. It's amazing. amazing. It's the best thing you can do. But I can't believe the amount you have to pay for things like nurseries and stuff like that, and then you have to pay tax on top of it.
They have some figures here.
Nursery stuff should be tax deductible because you need it to get your job done.
It says UK suffers the highest childcare costs in the world at about £936 per month. Obviously, that's like 5 days a week, full time. In Sweden, it's £115. Now, I've got a very obvious solution to this, which is that pensioners have to look after kids. If you want a state pension, you start looking after kids.
Like some old person looking after my baby.
But they can have loads of them. That's the thing. You get 2 pensioners per like half a dozen kids. So they're they're not one of the pensioners kills over.
I've got a better idea. How about I not work?
We're moving on now to French news. Le Pot calling Le Kettle black as the independent mayor of Paris has the cheek to call Twitter an open sewer.
Yes, the Paris mayor has quit Twitter, calling it a gigantic global sewer. And that's Twitter, not Paris. I don't know how, she says it's destroying our democracies by spreading abuse and misinformation. Or the free flow of information is securing our democracies. That's the way I see Twitter now. Previously, when it was tightly regulated by leftists, they'd silence stories such as the Hunter Biden laptop scandal and subvert democracy that way. Now it's free. Some people don't like that. Some people don't like the truth. It's too hurtful for them.
I mean, there are some hurtful opinions. There is some vulgarity, and there's. I mean, I don't like the term hate speech, but there is some stuff on there where you're going to go, it's a bit strong. But Hidalgo was obviously on the side of the Liberals who controlled the flow previously, and she doesn't like it up them.
No,
that's how it is.
But when was the last time you heard someone say, "Did you see what was said on Threads"?
Yeah. Or what's that one called Marmaduke or Malmut or something or Mammoth?
Oh, I know the one you mean.
Yeah. There's one every 6 months, isn't there? There's Mastodon.
Mastodon. Yeah.
Oh, God bless them. Lewis, this one will be right up your alimentary canal. This is ultra-processed foods and their wicked, wicked ways.
Yes, it is. And this is ultra-processed foods are not more appealing, study finds. And this is a study that was done by the University of Bristol, which my kid goes to. It's a very good school.
Yeah,
but it's basically, they did a survey where they put 2 types of food, hyper-palatable food, 3 kinds, hyper-processed food. I don't know that,
How processed and palatable just means like sugar, isn't it?
Sugar.
Is that right? Yeah.
And basically, this is, I tried researching this thing. I couldn't get the information about what actual foods we're studying. They put an avocado in front of somebody or a king prawn. Which would you like to eat? The truth is our brain is hardwired to go mental after eating sugar.
Yeah.
It turns off our leptin, it downgrades our mitochondria, it turns our whole body all tingly and all druggy to make us eat and get fat because we're hibernating.
And and even worse than that, you can have some sugar if it's really just sugar or maybe fruit, but with the sugar and fat combo.
Yeah.
Because there are only 2 things in nature that are sugar and fat. In proper, high ratios.
Yeah.
No, like literally in nature, and that's nuts and baby milk.
But nuts are not edible. But they need to be processed.
This study makes the Pepsi Challenge mistake. So they put small amounts of this stuff, sugar and fat, and in a small amount, in a little cupful, you'll be like, oh, that's delicious. Eating a plate of it, you're going to be like, this is disgusting.
Disgusting.
One more section to go. Coming up, the prodigy walk back the bitch, men are choking back the tears, and porn. Your buddy has got your back. We'll see you there.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests, and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
That direction anyway.
Leo, hello, we're back, sorry. In the middle of an argument about the birth control bill.
I'm not going on it, Simon.
Lewis refuses to. Independent, Leo, the Prodigy have changed the title of one of their songs, apparently by inserting 3 asterisks into it.
Yeah, so the Prodigy have changed the lyrics to "Smack My Bishop." It's an anti-Catholic church song. So this is 26. I can't believe it's been 26 years already after the song was released. It was controversial at the time. They're on tour at the moment, and they're playing the song without saying the controversial line. They're saying,
and without the original vocalist as well, right? He's gone anyway, isn't he? Died.
I don't think he was the vocalist, but he was the dancer.
Oh, he's the dancer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think he's unless he did sing.
I thought
he did sing on later stuff. Yeah. So at the time, it received criticism from artists including Tori Amos and the Beastie Boys. And the Beastie Boys were the most misogynist band in the world when they came out. Then they obviously got money and became lame and stopped all that. But the video wasn't at all misogynist. It showed, somebody on a wild night out vomiting, doing drugs and all the rest of it. But at the end of it, they look in the mirror and it's a woman. It was very progressive. And
she was smacking her own bitch up.
Exactly.
She was like her bitch was her inner self that needed to be released from her repressive sort of 9 to 5. Yeah.
And they're a fun band.
Of course they were.
I saw them
They were
live,
great.
and this song live, it wasn't at all oppressive, compared to.
They used to have that great kind of drum sound that was sort of like an implosion. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It sort of sucked all the air out.
That's a breakbeat.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
And weren't their hit song Firestarter?
Yeah.
And isn't that more like Dangerous Damaging? No one's stopping that.
Exactly.
And they're not blaming all the fires that have been set on that.
You can put arson in Her Majesty's dockyard, but there's no disrespecting women on this show. So, Times Now, Lewis, a long article that somehow mentions neither Gladiator nor Toy Story 3.
Yeah, but it does mention Andrew Tate. Why do middle-aged men keep crying? And I'll tell you why middle-aged men keep crying, because when you're middle-aged, women give you something to cry about. I was fine up until the time I got married. My wife taught me how to cry, basically. She taught me how it is. And the thing about women is, it's like they're trying to make men cry.
Here's my thing about crying, though, and I've had this conversation online a few times. Men do cry, but they don't cry when they're sad. They cry when they see an example of heroism or self-sacrifice. That's why women, they go to movies and they go, oh, it's so sad. They were lovers, but he's cancer and he's dead. And you're like, yeah, whatever, he let go and he sank in the Titanic. But when Maximus dies at the end of Gladiator, and goes back to his cornfield and runs his hand over the ears of wheat,
Yeah.
It all comes because he is acted with honour.
Right. Now I know what you're talking about because I do, because I was watching The World at War with Laurence Olivier.
Yeah.
And there was that part when the Russians came in, and they brought all their troops, and they were about to be. And I'm not saying I support Russia, but it was exactly what you said.
And Toy Story 3, it kills me right at the end.
Yeah.
And I went with loads of dads to that, and I'd heard that there was crying, and I thought it was the bit where they were all sliding down in the incinerator into the inferno, and then they get rescued. No. After that, all the toys were in a box, and Andy's giving them to the little girl because it's time for Andy to go to college. And then Woody is at the bottom of the box, and the little girl wants Woody, and Andy had been meaning to take Woody to college, but he decides to give him up. And,
Well, I cried when I went to the foyer and bought a hot dog that cost £28.
Interesting idea in The Guardian now, Leo, that could revolutionise my porn consumption.
This is horrific. This is the Buddy Boost, how accountability partners make you healthy, happy and more successful. So accountability partner is a friend who helps you commit to your goals. You know, you might go to the gym together, but it's in the papers because US Speaker Mike Johnson, the new Speaker, and his teenage son monitor each other's pornography intake.
That's the wrongest thing I've heard for a very long time.
I mean, it's wrong even if you do it with a mate, but doing it with your own son is that's
or with
horrific.
your own dad. It's like mutual, right?
Yeah.
I mean, presumably the dad just doesn't do it at all. That's the idea.
It could have come up on the app if he was looking at.
Yeah, they've got an app.
Yeah.
They've got, and the app's called Covenant Eyes. So it's...
Oh, my God.
We think of woke people as being really, watching what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, this is in The Guardian, and they're appalled when somebody watches a Ricky Gervais DVD. So, here they're appalled that people are wanting to watch less porn. I don't quite understand.
This is the Christian right that we hear a lot about, right, in America. They are just a weirder bunch, aren't they, than they are here, I think.
Or more devout. I see them as
suppose so, yeah.
More devout and better.
I would do mine with what's her name that we have on the channel occasionally, who the old Tory minister who is
Anne Widdecombe.
Anne Widdecombe, exactly. She could be my porn buddy.
You know what? As a Jew, I didn't grow up liking Christians. Now I think we need a bit more of them.
I've got a 16-year-old son. I haven't even asked him at all if he's like. I can't imagine having that conversation. You know what I mean? Anything about it. Like, do you have a phone?
But that's the flip side of all this stuff being pushed in schools. We don't have to do it.
Yeah, you deal with it. Thank you very much for that. Heartwarming story in the Times, Lewis, as a man willing to go the extra yard to pursue his dream.
Yeah, that's the question. Man extends legs by 22 centimeters to fulfill dream of driving diggers. He's only 4 foot 3 inches tall, poor guy. And in this country, it's horrible for shorter people.
Yeah.
And because people like Leo get all the girls, all the kids, everything. They're well liked. And so they have this surgery now, which I think I've seen people, where they actually break the leg, cut it open, and then it grows.
But wouldn't you expect? I mean, I do feel sorry for the guy, and I'm pleased that he's like, if he's done this and he's now fulfilling his dream, driving these vehicles. But you would think some kind of prosthetic could have been attached to his regular leg without breaking his bones.
Yeah, but this is to drive. I think when you're operating heavy machinery, you can't have some that a strap can pop off,
like
and then all of a sudden.
What's his name? Prometheus. Pistorius.
You can't. And then the crane just swings round and demolishes an orphanage. But yeah, I mean, he's probably done it to get a girlfriend as well. Funnily enough, I haven't had my legs lengthened, but I have had this, not the exact same thing, but I had lots of bone removed because I was run over. And then
I remember that. Yeah.
My bone had to reform.
Yeah, so you know the pain involved. Yeah. I hope he wasn't run over by a pickup truck or a JCB, because this could be a long-term revenge, is what he's planning.
So you're saying that Leo has had leg lengthening?
No, they didn't make it longer.
Why do you lie?
Finally, Leo, we got one more story. Let's see if we can do this in just over a minute. And this show, I think, has earned Word of the Year.
So ditch deepfake AI and post-truth as Merriam-Webster chooses its 2023 Word of the Year. And it's about being true to yourself. The 2023 Word of the Year is authentic. So they're saying there's a crisis in authenticity, all this fake news and stuff, you don't know what to trust. Yeah. Unless you're watching GB News, you can trust every single word.
I think we are authentic here, though. We kind of, maybe we put a little bit of a filter on, but not too much.
I can't speak for everybody out there. I'm trying my best to be authentic. Remember, get me on Twitter, Louis Schaefer. Buy my mug. mug.
I'm a little bit confused, though. Can I just ask Merriam-Webster, because normally a word of the year is a new word like selfie or, you know, I don't know, greenwashing or something. Authentic has been around for a very long time, right?
Yeah, it's been used. It's not even an old word that's come back into fashion. It's just always been there.
But does it mean that this is the word that people are searching for?
You know what? Merriam-Webster are inauthentic.
I think they are.
They are.
I feel they are. Whereas last year's one, gaslighting, that was actually quite good because that was a very useful term. I do find that.
Yeah, but gaslighting is from the 1930s, from a film.
Yeah, but they didn't use it as a slang at that time, did they?
They should have gaslighting now. That's when you tell someone they look great. You know, like Lizzo. Everybody's like, oh, you're so stunning and brave.
I love it.
Saying, yes, girl.
As in Slay Queen.
Yeah. Gaslighting was used last year.
The show is nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Tuesday's front pages. The Times, Hamas demands higher price to set soldiers free. Telegraph, Britain faces UN blacklist for blocking trans laws, boo-hoo. The Express, time for a bank chief who does that. The iNews have interest rates that will stay high into 2025, say economists. The Sun, gone to VAR, that's VAR. And the Daily Star, close encounters of the weird kind. Those were your front pages. That is all we have time for. Thank you to my guests, Leo Kearse and Lewis Schaefer. There is Lewis with his merchandise. Leo will be back tomorrow with Josh Howie and Scott Capurro. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Otherwise, thank you very much for entrusting your rundown of the night with us. See you again soon.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie. Second best. You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these three.
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.